Hello, people of the world and come universe. It's me, Nick, and this is the Come Up. It's January 11th. This episode will be airing a week after the violent insurrection take on the Capitol, and I am, at a point where the conversation around what needs to happen for white quote unquote allies, co-conspirators, whatever you want to call it, is coming up again in this moment. And I have a guest that I'm very excited to get into the meat of this conversation with. She is an icon, a legend. She's been doing this work for decades. She needs no introduction. It's Jane Elliott. Hello. How
Hello.
are you?
Yeah, I'm just meaner than I ought to be and more angry than I should.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of there with you. I still think that we're in a long, like I said, it's less than a week from the insurrection. We are seeing videos of folks being arrested. All the fallout that's happening. There's just a lot going on in the world right now. So I appreciate you coming in and talking to us today about it,
But you see, what's going on right now is nothing compared to what went on during the Black Lives Matter movement,
mm-hmm.
during that protest.
Mm-hmm.
And you aren't old enough to remember the Million Man March on Washington, when 880,000 black males with some of their sons went into Washington, and without any problems, nobody was arrested. There was no chaos. There were no demonstrations. They simply went into Washington to be counted. None of this nonsense went on because they were highly civilized individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones who did the rioting last week were highly uncivilized individuals who were led and enticed to do that by a highly uncivilized boy grown tall who didn't ever belong in the presidency. He is a case of arrested development. He has no adult ego state. He has never progressed past the parent ego state. And you cannot expect someone like that to run a country like the United States or Greenland.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Jane, I just to give folks a little bit of that may not know context around like your work and who you are, I just want to talk just a smidge about where I learned about you, the Blue Eye Brown Eye exercise. Where did that exercise come from? What was its goal, and why did you think it was important to share it with your students?
That's why you should be talking to me today, or to somebody who has gone through the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise, because weirdly enough, I learned how to do the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise from Adolf Hitler.
Mm.
I was born in 1933. That was the year that Adolf Hitler and Franklin Roosevelt came to power in their respective countries. And so from 1933 until 1945, I watched my father as he ranted and raved about what Adolf Hitler was doing and what a horrible individual he was. In 1968, we were going through the same thing in a different form, and Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. He had been one of our heroes of the month. He was killed because he was killed because of the ignorance of racism in this country. We still think that there's more than one race and that skin color is an indicator of intelligence or worth as a human being. It is childish, it is ignorance, and Donald Trump is ignorance personified. But in 1968, Martin Luther King Jr., he had been one of our heroes of the month, was killed by an assassin. So I put my students through an exercise in discrimination based on the color of their eyes, which I learned from Adolf Hitler, because one of the ways they decided who to put into the gas chamber was eye color. If you had a good German name, but you had brown eyes, they threw you into the gas chamber because they thought you might be a Jewish person who was trying to pass. They killed hundreds of thousands of people on the basis of eye color alone. So I did that exercise in 1968. And then here comes Donosaurus T. Rump. And the first year of his presidency, I thought, my God, this is Hitlerian. He's doing what Adolf Hitler did. And then I'd tell myself, you're exaggerating. That's not really what's happening. Now, don't think that, Jane. And then I read the book, Bert Newborn's book, When at Times the Mob is Swayed, in which he says that Donald Trump had in his bedside table in a locked drawer the writings of Adolf Hitler. He is using Adolf Hitler's policies as the way he has decided to run this country. People aren't aware of that. Now, the reason it's important that you speak to me today is because this isn't over. We're going to
Yeah.
have another explosion on this weekend and the next weekend, and probably many, many times, because Joe Biden is going to be president of the United States. He is a legitimately elected president of the United States. But this is going to go on and on. And I want young people to realize that those of us, and there aren't many of us left, but those of us who are 85, remember what happened from 1933 till 1945. I want young people now to look at what's happening, to take note of what's happening, to get copies of the magazines that are being printed and are being circulated today, to keep those somewhere so that when this happens again, and I hope it doesn't happen in less than 50 years, but it will. When it happens again, I want these young people to say to themselves, whoa, 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 back the truck up. We saw this in 2021. We saw this in 2016. From 2016 till 2020, we went through this before. We know this is wrong, and they'll put a stop to it. Those of us who remember what happened during the Holocaust are few in number now. But these young people today can see what those big pink men did. Those what do they call Proud Boys?
Proud Boys.
If they were men, they wouldn't have to call themselves boys. Boys run around and play army games. Men have been through it and will say to themselves, wait a minute, I've seen that in other countries. I'm not going to let it happen here. But the Proud Boys are just boys, and that's their problem. They need to grow up. But they're going to kill a whole lot of people before they get that done. And they're going to kill them. And now, right now, those same people are saying, it isn't our fault. President Trump told us when we came in there, we thought there was a plan of action. It isn't our fault. We were misled. Well, they were misled, but they allowed themselves to be misled. They agreed to go along with a despot, with somebody who doesn't know how to control himself, to say nothing about controlling a country. Now, I don't know whether you wanted to hear all that, but I think you need to remember. You need to remember what's happening today. We knew it was going to happen. They said, we're coming. Donald Trump said, come in on the 6th. It's going to be wild. And he determined that it was going to be, and it was. And it's going to be wild again on what, the 17th?
17th.
And 17th, and then again on the 20th, unless we have enough armed policemen and the National Guard and soldiers on the premises to say, it's not going to happen again. You've had your fun, boys, now go home. But this time, and they did the last time, they are going to go to every state house in the United States. Every state is going to have this happen at their state house unless they are thoroughly, totally prepared for it.
Yeah.
And these folks are walking, talking ignorance.
Yeah. Yeah. So a big thing people are talking about right now is the clear difference the treatment the police had at the Capitol versus the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right.
And you speak to the ignorance of racism, and I love that you say it that way, because you and I on the phone earlier this week, I was saying, like a lot of these people, they're educated, they are doctors, they're lawyers, they're CEOs, and I love your response to that, and I would love for you to share now with the people what you taught me this weekend.
I don't know what I taught you this weekend, but education in this country is indoctrination. And they've done studies in this country that prove that the longer you stay in school, the more bigoted you become, because you are reinforced every year in what you learn grades K through 8. And what you learn grades K through 8 was the absolute supremacy of white males. White males, as according to the anti-social studies departments, the only people who have done valuable discovering, inventing, leading were white males. Now, there's a problem with that. Number one, there is no such thing as a white male. There are lots of males, but there are no white ones. We've got to stop using the language of the 15th century to deal with 21st century problems. White and male, those two, white and black, those two colors came up during the Spanish Inquisition. They found out how they were trying to Catholicize a whole lot of people. They killed a bunch of Christians while trying to turn them into Catholics. Then they realized you couldn't tell what a person's religion was by looking at them. So they had to find another way to determine who deserved to die. So they set upon skin color, and they call light colored people white and dark colored people black. Now, in the dictionary, white is the color of goodness and purity. Black is the color of evil. You know that, and I know that. When you put people in a situation where you're either white or you're black, you have automatically created a chasm that will be very, very difficult to cross. And that's what we're finding out right now, and have been for the last 250 years in this country. It's time to get over the idea of white and black and start realizing that we are all different shades of brown. That's all. We are all different shades of brown. I talked to a couple of young women a couple of weeks ago, and one of them said, when I have to fill in a form now where it says race, I put human. I said, what are you going to put when it says color? She said, I'm going to put mocha. And the other one said, I'm going to put chocolate. Now, you see, that makes perfectly good sense to me because there's nothing negative about either of those words, and they are descriptive of skin color. White is not. I am not white. When I get angry, I get really red, and I'm really red right now. But I'm not white. My hair is white. My shirt is white. My skin is not and has never been white. Even after I die, it will not be white. Get over it. It's time to use melanemic for what we call white people and melanaceous for what we call black people. Because if you have only a little melanin in your skin, you must be melanemic. If you have a lot of melanin in your skin, you're melanaceous. Makes sense to me. If it doesn't make sense to anyone else, you make sense for white and black for me. You prove to me that white and black actually exist. Good luck.
Wow. Jane, give me 1 second. Let me turn my furnace off real quick. I'll be right back.
I think it's getting too hot for him in here, don't you?
It started coming on and I was like, oh no, I forgot to flip the switch. Yes. You know,
Nothing to say now, is there? Oh Lord, she said everything I wanted to ask, and now I don't have any questions. Well, let me describe the exercise for you the first time I did it.
yeah.
I split my class according to the color of their eyes. Innocent little children, all Christian children in Riceville, Iowa, who had never been in the presence of a person of other color than what we call white. And our lesson plan for the day was to learn the Sioux Indian prayer that says, "Oh, Great Spirit, keep me from ever judging a man until I've walked a mile in his moccasins." And I had decided, after watching the horror on television the night after Martin Luther King Jr. was killed, that not only was I going to teach them the Sioux Indian prayer, I was going to arrange to have it answered for them. I was going to let them walk in the shoes of a child of color in the United States in my classroom for one day. I didn't know how powerful that lesson would be. I didn't know when I told my kids that we talked about whether we should do it. And then they said, yeah, let's do that. That sounds like fun. And I thought, oh, my dears, this is not going to be fun, but you want to do it, we'll do it. So I split them according to the color of their eyes. And that time, the first time I did it, brown-eyed people were on the top because I'm blue-eyed and most of the students in the room were blue-eyed. So brown-eyed people were on the top. It didn't occur to me that when I said blue-eyed people aren't as smart as brown-eyed people, they aren't as clean as brown-eyed people, they aren't as civilized as brown-eyed people, that little brown-eyed Debbie sitting in the front row would look up at me and at the age of 9 would say to me, how come you're the teacher here if you got them blue eyes?
Wow.
Yes. Well, that was what I thought. No, that's not what I thought. I thought, well, you little shit, because she had no business. How dare she say that to me? I'm the teacher. She's 9 years old, and she attacked me right now. That had never happened before. And then Alan Moss in the back row said, Debbie, your eyes ain't got nothing to do with it. If she didn't have them blue eyes, she'd be the principal or the superintendent. They're both brown-eyed. And that quickly,
Wow.
my 9-year-old kids believed what I told them and could point out instances with their classmates that proved that they were indeed inferior or superior. I have never lived through such a day in a classroom before, but I have ever since many times, because after that, we reversed the exercise on Monday. And I was afraid to reverse the exercise because I heard those little blue-eyed boys in the boys' room saying what they were going to do to those brownies when they got on top. They knew they were going to be on top, but they were still just being treated viciously, and the brown eyes were doing it. But they knew it was going to be reversed. Brown eyes kept right on doing it anyway. So then I was afraid to go to school. I went to school, and the most amazing thing happened. I separated them according to the color of their eyes, put the blue-eyed people on top, and then waited for the explosion. There was none. Blue-eyed people were much less vicious to the brown-eyed people than the brown-eyed people had been to them. And on Tuesday, before we discussed the thing at all, after we had written their 4-paragraph compositions and gotten back together, we got in a magic circle, and I said, now, You blue-eyed kids said you were going to get even with the brownies when you got on top. Why didn't you? And that group of kids almost in a chorus said, because we found out how it feels to be treated that way, and we didn't want to make anybody feel the way we felt the day we were on the bottom.
Wow.
That is the hope of humankind in the United States of America. You have to pray, blueies, you have to pray. You melanemic people have to pray that people of color do not want to get even with you. You have to pray that they want to get equity, not get even, because they know how it feels to be on the bottom, and they are too humane in most cases to treat you the way you have treated them. Now, nobody believes that. White people, melanemic people don't believe it. They're quite certain that people are gonna get even with them. I did a program at the University of Houston a year ago. And I said to the group, I asked them, if the people, everyone in this room who considers himself or herself a member of the black race, please stand. Well, half the audience stood. And I said, and then I said, and then they sat back down. And this melanemic woman, probably 45 years old, about the second row, said, well, if those people, and I knew who she was talking about, if those people get on top, aren't they going to want to treat us the way we've treated them? I said, that's your fear, isn't it? That if people of color get the majority in the United States of America, and they will within 30 years, you're afraid they're going to treat you, you're afraid they're going to want to get even, right? Yes, I think that's what's going to happen. I said, well, let's find out. So I said to this group, I said, well, every person in this room who is a member of what we call the black race, who wants to get even with all white folks, please stand. 3 young black males stood. Nobody else did. The rest of them just looked at him like, are you nuts? And I said to the woman, you see, they don't want to get even with all of us. Do you feel better now? She said, I think I do. I said, all right, now, I'm glad you do, but let's be honest about this. And I turned to the audience again, and I said, now, will every person who considers himself or herself a member of the black race, who wants to get even with 1 or 2 white people, please stand? They all leaped to their feet, shouting and cheering and high-fiving one another. Absolutely, yes, yes, yes. I said, and now this woman go, I said, now you aren't so comfortable anymore, are you? She said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not at all. I said, you know what you have to do? If you want to be treated fairly in the future, treat people fairly in the present. Mm. And you won't be one of the 1 or 2 they want to get even with. Behave in such a way that when they see you, they don't say to themselves, I want to get even with you, bitch. And she's, oh, I said, are you still comfortable? Well, not really. I said, well, hey, all you have to do is change your behaviors. I think that will work. I've watched these so-called proud boys, who are just boys, make total fools of themselves in Washington, D.C. last week. And I remember the Million Man March. There was none of that. And I remembered the Black Lives Matter March. And the only people who were causing a problem were the members of the police department, who were putting down the citizens of the United States who had the right to make a peaceful protest in Washington, D.C. They weren't even allowed to do that. So if you think this is, in my estimation, anything against the response to our so-called 44 and a half president, ignorance and racism, you're wrong. I think that's exactly what this whole thing is. He played upon the emotions of insecure, melanemic people who are afraid of what's going to happen in the future because of what we have done to melanaceous people in the past and in the present.
Jane, what can the young folks that need to stop this in the future, but also take action right now to do something? There's something that people can do. What can specifically melanemic folks that consider themselves allies and are doing this social justice work and reading these books and going to these trainings, like what can they do right now to like really show up for the cause?
They need to refuse to go along to get along. They need to stand up and be counted. They need to do what they did after the man was strangled in front of the cameras in Oregon, right?
Minnesota.
Oh yeah, okay. See, I don't think that would ever happen I didn't think that would ever happen in the Midwest, but yes, Minneapolis. Yeah, but that isn't supposed to happen in the Midwest. Yeah. But at that point, people of all kinds, not of all races, because there's only one race, but people of all colors, all religions, all genders, all sexual orientations, all nationalities went out in the street and protested. And that's exactly what we need to do now. We need to get into the streets in these cities where they're going to come in and invade the capital cities, where they're going to invade the Capitol buildings, the state houses. We need to be there before they get there. We need to say, no, that's not going to happen here. And when they come down the street to have a march, we need to turn our backs on them, line the street with people who don't intend to participate, turn your backs on them so they don't have an audience, but they know that they'd best not go any farther. We need to be as angry, and not as angry, but as aware and as determined in our desire to put a stop to this as they are in their desire to stop this government. They want to stop this inauguration from happening. They want to stop the progress that Barack Obama and the people before him had made. When I watched that fool wiping out every bit of legislation that Barack Obama had put in place, I thought, my God, Hitler, here we come. And that's exactly what it was. We need to say, no, we're not going to go through this again. This has to stop now. We are not Germany, and we are not going to be overrun by you ignorant, melanemic people. Their skin color has nothing to do with it. Their intelligence and their ignorance is what the problem is. Skin color isn't a problem. Ignorance about skin color is a problem. And the reason we are this ignorant about skin color is because we have miseducated the American mind. We have taught that only pale faces did good things in this country. We have taught that it's all right to kill those who look different from us, because if we want to take their land, or we want their natural resources, or we want their women, or we want their money, we can simply walk in and take it, because we have decided that we are the superior race. Superior people don't act the way the people did in Washington, D.C. last week. That is not the behavior of superior people. That is behavior of people who are being led by an ignorant, I can't think of a bad enough word for this.
I know, there's just nothing there. I lost words for it a long time ago, for him specifically, because it's just so infuriating. It's like, how is this still happening?
and why are the Republicans in the Senate and the House of Representatives refusing to put a stop to it?
Yeah.
Why are they refusing to go along? Why aren't they saying, yes, he made a terrible mistake and he's wrong and he should be impeached and he should be removed from office and he should be gotten out of town now and put from straight to, do not collect $200, go straight to jail.
Yes.
That's what he should do. That man has to be confined.
Yes.
And his ability to communicate with large groups of people has to end right now, because he is communicating things that are lies and that are against the United States of America. That's another thing we have to do, and this will make people really angry. You can take this out if you want to.
I like making people angry. This is gonna be great.
Oh, they're gonna be angry. It's time for us to stop referring to this country as American. America is everything from the northernmost point of Canada to the southernmost point of South America. Everybody in all those countries is an American, a North American, a Central American, a Latin American, a South American. America is not just the 48 contiguous states, Alaska, Hawaii, and the islands off the southern coast of the United States. That's not all that constitutes America. What that is the United States of America. And what's important about that title is the word united. But some people who are dyslexic look at that word, and because it has all the same letters, they see it as untied. No, we are the United States of America. That is what makes this a precious nation. If it weren't for those founding fathers, we could have been 13 different countries instead of the United States, 13 United States. We have to realize that we are united, and we need to use that term instead of just saying, God bless you and God bless America. No, God bless you and God bless the United States of America. That word united is extremely important, and we ought to use it often, particularly during this kind of upset. Yeah.
Jane, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your passion. I'm so happy that you took some time in this. I think that hearing from you is, this is exactly the moment that we needed to hear from you. So
But
thank you.
but you have to remember this. Somebody has said, I don't remember who, those who forget the mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat them.
Mhm.
I want young people and old people today to pay attention to what's happened in the past week and what will happen in the next 2 weeks, and refuse to allow this to happen again when they see it coming again. Now that it's happened, now they know it can happen. Now they know how it happens. Now they know how to stop it. Okay?
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you
you very
so
much.
much.
Just really angry. Okay.
Jane, thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you. I appreciate you for coming and hanging out with me. And I'll
Wait. Do not say hanging out anymore. That we what they were going to do was hang Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. Stop using the phrase hanging out. I don't
Yeah.
want to hang out with anybody because they would love to see you and me hanging
Oh,
together.
I know. I know.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know. So
Take it out. It's gone. It's gone, Jane. You just
take it out. Take it out. You're going to take out, and magic. You're going to take out many different races. You're going to take that out because there's only one race of people on the face of the earth, and that's the human race. Black and white are not races. They are color groups within the human race. We've got to get over the idea of several different races. We got to stop talking about hanging out. I'll give you some other words that you need to take out of your vocabulary. If I would let you say something, I could find some other words that you need to remove from your vocabulary. But okay, go ahead.
I have a long list. Listen, I just need to call you someday and just like all right, I'm just gonna say a bunch of things. You just tell me what needs to stop.
And then I'll be thinking, being in total control, honey. And you need to realize that when people call me a bitch, that's what that word means to me. Being in total control, honey. So if you do it and I attack you for your use of words, don't call me the B word because it just makes me happier.
Jane Elliott, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and you're most welcome. Call me again sometime.
Of course, of course.